Good morning, Professor. You know, the strangest thing about the best classes I've had thus far at CCU is that I always feel like I have so much more to improve on, so much more to learn by the end of it. Just from the breadth of knowledge that was presented, I always know there's more to learn. And that's exactly how I feel about this class. Here you've asked me to kind of critique my last three speeches. So I'm gonna kind of tell you where I think I improved a lot on these speeches, but I also want to tell you where I think I still really need to work and really need improvement on. Next, I'm gonna kind of give you what I think is the most important biblical principle that I've gleaned from the Bible and how it applies to this being able to speak in public. And finally, I'm going to tell you why it's personally important to me to be able to communicate well and speak publicly, privately, and in a small group. But first, let's go ahead and go through my critique of my last three speeches, and we're going to go ahead and start with my informative speech, which was, if you remember, about the basic tenets of the Christian faith. What I thought I did very well on this speech was I was able to follow my outline very well. I just was able to hit point. I think it flowed very well from point to point to point. I think I had good transitions, a strong introduction, and a strong conclusion. And I've never been able to follow an outline like that before. So I'm not sure if that says something about my speaking skill or my writing skill, but I think it was an improvement from my previous speeches, both in class and out of class. I also thought the ambiance I created with my desk and the books and a little candle was a relaxing yet scholastic feel to it. So I think those 2 points are the things I think I did well in my first speech. What I did not do well, I didn't know who this speech was for. Even thinking now, I don't know who this speech was for. Was it for the marginal Christian, the new Christian, or the skeptic? Had I been able to do this over again after the grading process, I would have probably done the speech for my friends and maybe my fiance and have them give me a better direction on who this would be good for so I could have made it more explicit in my speech. Another thing that I did not do well is I never really let a thoughtful pause be silent. I always had to use an informal or It also just right caveman where I just kind of let a noise in my throat build while I'm thinking of what next to say. So if I was able to do the speech over again, I think I would have prepared a little bit better, rehearsed a few more times so that those wouldn't occur. Next, my demonstrative speech where I taught the class how I make chili. What I really think I did well in this was that I don't think I had a whole lot of informal language usage. And that's because with having to do something and talk about doing what I'm actually doing kind of eliminates having to thoughtfully bring up that what I'm thinking of trying to communicate. So doing helps me think and helps me speak more clearly without the need for a thoughtful pause. Though there were thoughtful pauses in there where I was just simply cooking, and I think those were okay. Also, I think that my prep work was really well done, well thought out, being that I pre-chopped my ingredients. I even pre-cooked some of my ingredients so I could take the class through the entire process of making this chili. Of course, sans the time it takes to actually let the chili percolate and become really chili and not just a mixture of ingredients. Now, what did I not do well in this speech? I did not think that I just basically had a way too long of an introduction in the desire to have good biblical context. I needed to cut my biblical context down, especially when my speech isn't directly relating to faith. Or I could have chopped it up and put biblical context into different parts of the speech where I was more silent when I was cooking. That's another thing that I wish I would have done. I wish I would have bought more ingredients so that I could have done multiple takes. Seeing that my introduction was too long, either cut it down or break the biblical context up into different portions. Moving on now to my persuasive speech. This speech, I wanted to be my coup de grace of class. I wanted this to be just my most powerful speaking moment ever, when I was trying to convince other Christians of why they need to present good, logical, sound reason for what they believe. And I failed completely at that because I was not able to do multiple takes. I posted a very rough take of my speech, hoping to get some good feedback from the class, and I got snowed in at work and was not able to do the 2 or 3 more takes that I wanted to do. So frankly, I feel like I regressed back to my impromptu speech when I did my persuasive speech as far as style and even content goes. So had I been able to do it 2 or 3 more times, I think it would have been the speech that I wanted it to be and the speech that I'm capable of giving. But it's not just about me, and that's what I always want to bring forth in my speech, is I don't want it to be focused on me. I want to be focused on the Lord, on Jesus, on God. So I think biblical principles are really, really important when we're talking about public speaking. I'm going to use a verse out of Colossians, specifically 4:6. This is out of the NIV. It says, "Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that may know how to answer everyone." I think this is so important because we need to know what we're talking about. I need to know what I'm talking about. I need to know my outline through point by point by point, so when I present what I'm going to talk about, it's in a relaxed manner. It shows that I have an intimate knowledge of what I'm talking about, and I can tell, I can insert little jokes into it to make it humorous, to keep attention of my audience. I can go on a little rabbit trail and throw in a little anecdote that will make them think a little bit more, maybe. So having this intimate knowledge of what I'm talking about and being creative and able to make it stick into somebody's mind, that's making it salty, that's making it palatable, but still substantive, having substance, something that they can really digest and tear apart. It is very important that we know our side of it, like I was just talking about, but also the opposition side. What would somebody that doesn't believe say to what I'm saying? I need to know that so I can give a valid reason for my hope, and I can give him and in that reason show him or her why their reason is insufficient to mine. Now, my hope in this life of mine is that I get to become a teaching pastor. That's where my heart is. And so it's really, really important for me to be able to speak in public to a diverse audience, that I can be relaxed and friendly, like I was talking about before, and be approachable at the end of the sermon so that people can come and talk to me and disagree with me or agree with me vigorously and be approachable. My ultimate desire is to put into words, into speech, the thoughts that God puts in my mouth and in my heart. That is my greatest ambition, is to be a mouthpiece for God. So wrapping up this class, Professor, I discussed here how I think I improved in this class and where I still need to improve. I also talked about the biblical context. For me, what I feel is the most important biblical perspective out of Colossians 4.6. And finally, I kind of told you where my heart is in public speaking, how important it is to me, and the importance it will have in my ministry. Professor, I also want to thank you for your patience in teaching me how to better express my thoughts and feelings through the art of speech. God bless.